Hello everybody, glad you could make it. My name is Kaylee Ellen and welcome to today's video. I'm going to get straight into it. I've been planning a few videos recently, an Anthurium rare plant index, that is a big boy, Some content on plants that are now affordable that weren't before. But in doing that, I couldn't help but notice in my research that there are a few plants that have actually held their value over the last few years. Not insane amounts, but they're still worth a bit of money. And honestly, I was a little bit surprised. So I've sort of made a list. I know, we love a good list. So I want to go through with you today a few different plants that are still worth some money in 2025. Here we go. So I'm going to start with philodendron. And honestly, with philodendron nowadays, guys, I'm going to cut to the chase. You can get nearly any philodendron that you kind of want, and you're not actually going to spend a lot of money at all. Honestly, I only found 2 philodendron, not to say there aren't more, that were notable for still costing a bit of money. They do both happen to be variegated. Probably no surprise at this point, because most philodendron that aren't, you can just sort of get tissue cultured or whatever, like you can find it. So the philodendron Eelmanii, guys, that's still holding some value, and that semi-surprises me. It kind of surprises me that nobody seems to be trading it, wanting it, maybe tissue culturing it. Now, I've looked obviously through this list that I prepared today, and obviously there's a few things on it, and I can't necessarily tell you why things are holding value. I can try and guess each time, but obviously I don't know. In the case of the Eelmanii though, guys, everyone asks me about what happened to mine, right? It died, and I think it died at some point in like 2022, something like that. But honestly, it was so hard to grow. I didn't expect it to be that hard to grow. And I'm wondering if in the case of the Eelmanii, it's actually why it's not passed around, why it has a value. It was very slow. It was very hard to grow. The edema probability of this plant was just crazy. Like, it was genuinely, it caused me a lot of problems. It caused me more harm than good. I just couldn't grow that thing. And eventually it just gave up and died on me. I did take the odd cutting, but even the odd cutting wouldn't really grow. I would love to have it now, because obviously I didn't have my feed then. My feed does tend to help most things through like a struggling process. So it'd be cool, but it's not on a wish list. I don't really desire to have it again. But I just wondered if anybody else knew why it's not really, the value hasn't really dropped. In this case, my official guess is how difficult it is to grow, and growers want some of that back. But let me know if you happen to know why that is holding a value. It's not insane value, but you'd be struggling to find it, quite honestly. Certainly shops don't have it. So in addition to that, now this really surprises me, this one. This is really surprising. Variegated billeti, or Billietiae, I should say. What is going on there? Because we have so much tissue culture now, as well with billeti, by the way. Plenty of it. Literally more tissue culture than you can shake a stick at, and yet we are still short on variegated billeti, right? And I even see this, like literally today, I was scrolling down Instagram and I saw growers still growing it in Thailand and stuff. Like, what is going on? I honestly would have thought that it would have just dropped in value because of tissue culture and everything else. Because you see listings for it. I don't think it's the fact that it's not offered. I think the price is just too high. Maybe it's just one of those weird things where the price is too high, people do want it, and they're just not prepared to pay those prices because they know it's going to come down. And the growers are just like, stuff you, will hold fast. I don't know. Like, I was really surprised to see that. That was not on my roster. Now, in my experience, they're not very stable at all. I've only known of one that was stable, and I famously sold it. And no, I'm still not over it, guys. I'm still not over it, okay? I will never get over it. Otherwise, I don't know. I really don't know, because billeti itself, by the way, has become so cheap. It's in my cheap houseplants video that I'm making because I couldn't believe how cheap it was, and it used to cost a bit of money. So answers on a postcard for that. I don't even know. Right, that was it for philodendron. Can you believe? Can you actually believe? Can you believe? Because there might be some that you think, no, that's still held its value. It probably hasn't, and it might be in my cheap video, which will be coming next month. So eyes out for that. So next category I've got, guys, is Anthurium. Now, the world of Anthurium is plentiful at best. My rare plant index it's going to be huge. You thought alocasia was big. The Anthurium one, I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm going to do, right? We'll look looking at like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of anthurium. I'm going to have to shorten it down, okay? But anyway, in doing that, this is how I found this portion of my list, because obviously I was looking for rare anthurium and stuff like that, or anthurium that I have, whatever have you. So I think these anthurium, or anthurium generally, are holding their value because you can get so many crosses, so many variations. And I honestly think tissue culture can't actually keep up with the hybridizations and all the variations that people then want. Like if something's displaying a weird characteristic or something, I don't actually think for once ever tissue culture can keep up, because everybody and their dog are hybridizing these things. Even people at home, you guys at home are doing it. You're crossing things, you're getting seeds. It's great. It's all good things. But I think as a result, the anthurium market, it just sort of exists in its own right. It's really weird. I know that Thailand were very late on the uptake anyway with anthurium, because I went there in 2020 and they had hardly any. But yeah, that's my take on why they are generally high value, I guess. But some of these still surprised me. So first on the list for anthurium holding value, I've got red crystallinum. Now guys, there are several different types of red crystallinum. I didn't know there were that many types. There's at least 10 different types. At least 10 different types. I have the type from NSA Tropicals. It came direct from Enid, so it absolutely is. Anyone that's bought any red crystal from me, that is what you have. You have NSA. I don't know which picture I'm showing you, quite honestly. Could just be NSA. But there are so many different types. I'm actually going to do, off the back of all this, I'm going to do a video on red crystalline because it's very interesting. So you can expect that in the works. So I'm not going to tell you about every single type that there is. But generally, I'm kind of surprised that it's still worth a lot of money when you can probably... I just thought someone would have started on this with TC now. But again, it's similar to what I said about anthurium. Generally, people are coming up with different hybrids, different variations, ones that show the best traits, and they're trying to produce them, and then they'll pass them on to seed, then they'll cross it with themselves and stuff like that. And I just think maybe if you did send one to tissue culture, by the time you got it out, someone might have an even better form. You know what I mean? I don't know. This is all just guesswork, guys. It really is. The next plant, I've got my theory, but it's biased. The next plant that I have in anthurium is King of Clarinervium or King Clarinervium. Listen, I have one of these. There's no point me showing you. It's half a leaf because I chopped the bottom off. It doesn't want to live, guys. It does not want to live. It's gorgeous when it gets going. It's beautiful. And I think this year is going to be my year to try and grow it. But I don't get why it won't grow. And that is my only guess as to why it's still got a high value to it. I don't think it grows very easily. I know it's slow. At the best of times, it's slow. Maybe it's giving people problems. I don't know. And again, I'm really just speaking off mine. I will say these are highly variable, a bit like the red crystals. They're highly variable. So if you do want to get one, get the exact one you're looking at kind of thing. Yeah, I really don't get it. I would expect it to be tougher given that it's got Clarinervium, obviously, as a parent. But it just ain't. Still holding some value. Obviously in this video, guys, I've not got specific with, dollars, pounds or whatever, because it just differs too much. And then I can't categorize them according to their value and then whatever. I've just put them in, anthurium, philodendron, whatever. But just Google them. For today, guys, just Google them. The next plant, I'm less surprised at this one. This is Anthurium Fairchild. I do have one. I have two. I have a small one in my cabinet that's a cutting from the big one I have. I have one behind me. You're not going to see it. I've kind of covered it up, and it was growing a new leaf and I snapped it off. Really annoyed about that. But I do have an Anthurium Fairchild. Technically, I've got two. And that's another plant this year that I aim to get really pretty. So, yeah, I think in this case, maybe it's just because it only mainly comes from NSA. That could be the reason. It could not be the reason. I don't know. I don't see them around about in the EU or anything. I can't remember what it was, but when I was Googling, I saw Fairchild crossed with something. I don't know what it was. And I could see that for sale. And even that cross was a lot of money. But as for like pure Fairchild, I don't often see it. I mean, I would suggest if you want to get it from NSA Tropicals, obviously. But yeah, it's interesting, that one. That's the only reason I can think of, though. I can't think of anything specific. This, by the way, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but I'm pretty sure it's like a mutated crystallinum. It's technically crystallinum, which, yeah, you can kind of understand it, actually, if you ignore the lobes of the plant and then just, put it back in a crystallinum shape. I kind of get it, actually. It's a very nice plant, though. I don't know how sought after it is. Maybe that's part of it as well. I don't know. The next plant in Anthurium, I have the Anthurium Carla Blackii, and obviously everybody wants this. The thing is, guys, there are so many different variations of this. I don't even know how y'all keep up. Now, I know there's variations of everything, but when you, for example, look at like red crystallinum versus this, Carla Blackii, wow, it's got like 30 forms plus. So if you want one, you'd better get Googling, to be honest. I haven't put any specific form to note, but yeah, it's crazy. I have written here on a note, and I did put this on my Instagram today. I have a plant that gives me like vibes of one of the Carla Blackii. I'm not saying it is, by the way, because it isn't. It's just a really weird thing, but I have one that sort of gives me vibes of it, so that's kind of nice. It's made me not fully need a Carla Blackii. Probably wouldn't say no, but you get my opinion. If you know what that might be of mine, by the way, let me know. But currently it is undescribed. I will have either got it from Indonesia or Ecuador, so it could be any kind of thing. But yeah, it's a really, really nice one, and I do get this. It's dark, it's sexy, it's whatever. I just, with all the forms, I'm not sure why it's holding that much value, because clearly everybody wants a bit of it. I don't know. I can't really tell you why that one's holding value. Another one here. Now, this really gets me. I looked on NSA Tropicals and I was shooketh to the core, right? This is Anthurium circus peanuts, guys. That's peanuts. Peanuts. Okay. This is named, I've got this down. I've written hybrid that it is. I'm not into pronouncing names today, guys. It's too hot. It's 24 degrees in here, and my hair it's turning stringy because I'm so hot. But this was apparently named, I've got written down in my notes, it was named due to the smell of the blooms, because they apparently smell like, I wouldn't know. This is obviously a USA thing. It smells like really cheap candy or sweets, we would say in England, from basically the circus. They would come in like clear plastic bags, like a really horrible synthetic smell. I don't know. That's why it's called circus peanuts. Peanuts. Because looking at it, yeah, it's a nice plant. I'm not knocking it. It's just for the price tag, I would have expected more. I don't know. Maybe this is one of few anthuriums with like a really distinctive smell that you can smell. Because personally, when my anthurium bloom, I can't necessarily smell anything. Maybe that's just me. Like I've got a few different things. I never smell anything. I literally never smell anything. So maybe that's why. And I'm guessing not many people do like the smell because no one's wanting to buy it. Let me know if you know what the tea is with that and why it's so high value. Is it impossible to grow? Is it just heavily kept? Like, what is the tea? Let me know. The next plant I've got in Anthurium is the Ace of Spades. This surprises me a lot. I won't drivel on, but in the early 2000s, I'd go on about this all the time. You could buy it from like a plug tissue culture for like £5 each. Then it stopped being produced. Then 2020 came along. Everyone loved it. Everyone wanted it. And since then, guys, it's been completely and utterly elusive. Absolutely. There are different forms of this, which I didn't realize till literally today. There's like a green form, and then there's obviously that dark form. Now, in the case of the dark form, it could have held its value because apparently there aren't many plants out there. Obviously, if you take cuttings, then yeah. There's not many versions of Ace of Spades, because I think it is a hybrid of sort, that show those really dark characteristics. So that part itself is rare. It's rare to get a good one. Other than that, I don't know why it's expensive. That, to be fair, I'm saying that's a really valid reason why it would be expensive, because the characteristics just aren't reproducing. So you would have to TC this, or you would take cuttings or whatever. But yeah, that does surprise me a little bit. I've always wanted one of these. Not like actively desperate for it, but if it got really cheap, then yeah, I'd probably have one, to be honest. Right, we're moving away from Anthurium now to Alocasia. And this is like a general note on Alocasia that a lot of the variegated Alocasia, this is really interesting, a lot of the variegated Alocasia have held value, but I wouldn't expect that to hold as much as, say, the Anthurium, right? Because the thing with the variegated Alocasia is they're being TC'd at the house, right? So if you really want one, no matter what it is, right, exercise some caution and maybe wait. I've just done a plant haul like a few days ago where I bought some variegated Alocasia in, but I've gone for corms and I know what I'm getting into. I understand the value can go down, everything else, right? Literally, I completely get it. That's absolutely fine. So if you are wanting one, just be aware of that. But this does make them quite popular. So at the minute, they're having a mini surge because people do want them. They are very desirable. They do look very good and whatever else. They're still niche because Alocasia, unbeknownst to me, have become slightly niche. over the last few years. I didn't know that, guys. I had no idea. Loads of people, loads of aroid lovers among you, stay away from alocasia. I had no idea. Because I haven't. I did when I had my shop. That's different. They were just a nightmare to keep alive when you didn't have an eye on them all the time. But anyway, so I've got some examples of variegated alocasia, but just take this one with a pinch of salt, okay? Because these values may go down. So, for example, the alocasia dragon scale variegata is quite cheap, right? You can get that nearly anywhere. And I'm not saying it's like super cheap, but you can get it, right? You can get it. Conversely, though, the silver dragon variegated, so the albo, specifically the albo, is very hard to get. And it's very expensive. So that's an alocasia that stayed more trendy, and I'm guessing it does look more Instagrammable, and it stayed a high value. But the other alocasia hasn't, even though they're both TC Thai heaven, they're both just rolled out in box stores or whatever. So I thought that was interesting, so I put it on as one example. Another example of an alocasia is the serendipity variegated. Now that has come down in value a bit, do not get me wrong, but it still has a value. It still has a value, and I know they're being tissue cultured. So for now, they're holding strong. We will see what happens in due course. Can you see what I mean? They have a value, but you can tell that it's not going to hold like the other categories that we have. I think the plants I mentioned in the other categories have more chance of holding than these, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Oh my God, this one. Oh my God. There's another one as well that I haven't put on here, but I'm going to mention it because literally wish list. The next plant, I can't look at this plant without gasping, okay? And I had to have one, and I have a comb, and I'm so excited. But this is Alocasia chantreri variegated, and oh my God, it's so good. And what I should have mentioned throughout this is the things that are holding the most value are the pink variegated things, right? So even things like your pink Amazonicas, namely the true form, not the poly, like the big form, stuff like that. It's always the pink. What I will say is, guys, the pink variegation, it is albo variegation. It's happening to show pink because of what the undersides of the leaves look like, and it makes it look pink, okay? So just a little word of warning again if you're looking for them. But the chantreri is just, wow, like, I've never seen a plant that pretty, and I actually really like the chantreri by itself. So to have that like that is just gorgeous. I actually get that. Now, the one I haven't put on here, but I'm going to add it in now, is the Cuprea variegated. This surprises me a lot, right? And these are a bit expensive. They are a bit expensive. Even if you're going to buy a comb, it's quite expensive for a comb. And I don't know why the variegated Cuprea are expensive, because we've had Cuprea for years. Again, it's a little bit like the albo dragon scale, right? We've had them for years, and yet somehow it's really expensive to get. I don't really know, because you'd expect them to be coming out TC. And there are plenty of places on Instagram or wherever else that are TCing these, and they're offering them to you, obviously at a big price. But again, what I will say is, if you're going to get a variegated alocasia, really take the time to debate whether it's going to be a TC alocasia with more risk, or it's going to come from the comb of, a mother plant, which does still have its risks. It's just got its own set of risks, which I should really do a video on because it's really good to know. So that's it for the alocasia category, but you get my point. It's more just like variegated stuff is here, the pink stuff has the value, and it will steadily go down, but it won't be insanely cheap, maybe, just because, again, not enough people are buying alocasia. So there you have it. I don't have a category as such. It's just one random plant that it was going in a miscellaneous category, but then I ended up not finding any more plants to really put in that category. And I've got written down here, mainly because I have one, and I didn't realize, guys, but Homolamina rubescens pink. Oh my God. That still has a value. Now, in that case, again, I'm going to claim that it's impossible to propagate. It is impossible to propagate. Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't remember if that grows from like a rhizome or what. I'm not actually sure. I've never depotted mine. Maybe I should. I need to Google it, actually. I actually don't know. I never bothered to look. But the pink variegated one, honestly, it is so hard to grow. I've taken cuttings and I've rooted them fine. So that was like a fine ass way of like propagating them. But then it just reverted on me. I suspect they're really hard to grow, very unstable. I reckon that's why they've held a value. Because if you're going to get one, there will just be a few, that you can pick, and it won't just be a generic listing for one. It'll be a very specific one. And I think that's why in that case it's held a value. I also don't think they're that popular. I think, yeah, it's lovely to see them on pictures and stuff. To actually grow them, let me just turn around and have a look at mine. Not the best things to grow. They don't, at least for me, they don't size up amazingly, and it's getting all the same care that all of this beautiful stuff here gets. And it just doesn't love me, really. Now, that could be me. I get that. But I'm just having to sit here and be put in the position where I have to guess why these things, they have a value still. And that's probably the guess that I would put on it. But what I want to know is there anything that I've left off this list? Please let me know in the comments. Is there anything you think, oh my God, I looked at that the other day and I actually can't believe that still has a price tag. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Thank you for watching this video. I thought it was interesting. I know it's a bit random, but I just thought it'd be really interesting to go through it. If you like this video, please leave a like down below. It lets me know that I'm making content that you actually enjoy watching. And fun fact, only 50% of you that watch my content are actually subscribed. So if you want more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. That's it. I'm going to love you and leave you. YouTube thinks these videos are a really good idea for you to watch. So if I do say so myself, I think you should go and watch them. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.